was the answer to an off-season of hopes and dreams.
Pretty much a dream come true for me. I made no secrets about the fact that I would love to play for the Dallas Cowboys as early as last year. And this happening over the last few weeks and having a chance to come here and finalizing the deal today and being a Dallas Cowboy, it's beyond words for me. I think it's one of the premier organizations in the NFL, and I'm just excited to be a part of it.
He's a great football player. I've admired him for quite some time. We knew, without question, that Troy Aikman was our guy. When we got back on the plane after the workout, when I took my coaching staff and we went and worked Troy out there at UCLA.
Others drafted #1 overall for their signal calling abilities since 1970 include the likes of Tampa Bay's Vinny Testaverde in '87, the Broncos' John Elway, originally drafted by the Colts in '83, Steve Bartkowski by the Falcons in '75, Jim Plunkett by the Patriots in '71, and remember Terry Bradshaw, drafted #1 overall by the Steelers in 1970. Ironically, Troy Aikman's last football game as a collegian was in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl, where UCLA handled Arkansas. Cowboy owner Jerry Jones hopes the strong-armed mobile rookie can handle the chore of bringing the Cowboys back from the dead equally as well.
Now, Aikman has offered to donate $1,000 to a yet unnamed charity for every Cowboy win as long as he remains in Dallas. The most significant implication of the Aikman signing on the rest of the draft is that Green Bay has now its destiny in its own hands now that the Cowboys have made a commitment to Aikman. Unless the Cowboys trade Aikman, which is unlikely, expect the Packers to select offensive tackle Tony Mandarich of Michigan State. The next 3 picks should find Barry Sanders, Deion Sanders, Derrick Thomas, or Tim Worley selected.
Now to baseball, and the Red Sox have a red-faced pitcher, but Oil Can Boyd is not embarrassed. He's mad.
Lynn has suggested to NFL officials that the league form one scouting department for all 28 teams. He says the cost could be reduced by over $20 million if his plan is adopted. Pre-draft day rumors are continuing to swirl about. The Cleveland Browns and Washington Redskins are reportedly close to making a deal. Cleveland would part with running back Ernest Biner, a restricted free agent, in exchange for draft choices. Browns Executive Vice President Ernie Accorsi told the Washington Post today that, quote, the trade is alive. But 2 complications are holding things up, apparently. Biner must be signed by either team before a trade can be made, and the Browns want only 1989 draft picks in return.
Finding the right player for the right team is not an exact science. It's a problem that exists in the football world and in the business world. Jimmy Roberts looks at 2 men in 2 different arenas, looking for the same winning edge.
It's not an exact science, and everybody's got mistakes on their board because there are certain things we just can't evaluate that precisely.
A good player is not just a good player in a vacuum. It has to be that player, that executive, in the context, in the environment that he's going to be injected into.
The guy's character. What makes him tick? Is he a self-starter? Is he a guy that needs to be pushed, to be motivated?
There isn't anything about that individual, I mean, that we don't want to know.
One man decides who might play quarterback in the NFL. The other has a major say in who might call the signals for some of the world's biggest corporations. But which is Dick Steinberg of the New England Patriots? And which is Jerry Roach, head man at Heidrick & Struggles, a top executive search firm? Sometimes it's hard to tell, because in carrying a football or carrying a briefcase, much is the same. From an intelligence test that all 28 NFL teams and some 10,000 American companies administer, to the sheer magnitude of their searches.
We're probably starting out with 3,000 names, and we're eliminating that group down to the ones that can run fast or have a size-speed ratio, which is good enough for the NFL. And then we're eliminating out of that group the ones that don't have the skill in their particular position. And then we're eliminating out of that group the ones that have the size, speed, and skill, but don't compete and aren't productive. And finally, we're working with a group of maybe 300 or 400 players, draft day.
In the world of executive search, Heidrick & Struggles computers contain almost 500,000 possibilities. Jerry Roach has placed top people at Apple Computers, Reebok Shoes, United Airlines, and the last 4 presidents of CBS.
In talking with clients, I often refer to one of the specifications that Bela Karolyi, the Romanian gymnast coach, the Kamenic, and who has done so many great superstars for the Olympics, when asked what he looks for in his potential future gold medal winners, he said they've got to have fire in their eye. That's the first thing he looks for, is fire in the eye, the intensity, the dedication.
Which sounds a lot like football talk. But whereas Steinberg drafts known quantities, Roach must recruit like a college coach.
85% of our answers come from initial digging, from somebody coming to us and saying, hey, who are the best people out there that could run an airline? You're not going to get those people sending in resumes. We go and dig them out. And there's a big difference. We go after who's good, not who's available or who's looking.
I think you need to get the best talent that you can possibly get and fit your offense or defense to your talent. If you start trying to fit the player to your system, you're going to end up with a lot of mediocre players, or you're in danger of ending up with a lot of mediocre players.
So what's the formula for success? Well, both men are still looking. But it's the price of failure when the evaluations don't work, which is increasing in both worlds.
It's among the saddest things and the worst things that can happen to us, personally and humanly. I mean, especially if you're uprooting somebody from a good company where they're in a solid situation and move them geographically, move them emotionally, and put them in a new matrix, and it doesn't work out, no amount of severance, no amount of money can make up for the psychic harm that's been done.
If we do make a mistake, it hurts a lot more now than it used to, because we're paying a lot more money now than we used to. And you lose the value of that choice forever. But I think you just have to take a hard look at why that guy failed and don't make that mistake again.
I'm Jimmy Roberts, ESPN.
Dick Steinberg and his Patriots have the 16th pick overall. Here's a look at the rest of the first-round order.
Center is brought to you by Levi's Dockers. If you're not wearing Dockers, you're just wearing pants.
We're stuck on a desert island. Would you rather have a mattress, a stereo, or a book?
I majored in East Asian religions.
That way he can order in a Chinese...
Be quarterbacking our team.
A couple of late developments, as we like to circulate the rumors for you, about the Washington Redskins trying to get their big back. They were trying to get Ernest Biner, perhaps from Cleveland. Doesn't look like that will happen. That three-way deal with the Redskins, Chargers, and Atlanta Falcons, in which Gerald Riggs would go from Atlanta to the Redskins. San Diego would get one of those young quarterbacks, Stan Humphries, and Atlanta getting the San Diego #1 pick, the 8th overall. That three-way deal still may be in the works, probably won't come down until that pick comes around. So, if that all happens, that would change things, and 5 teams would have more than one #1 pick. Another trade yesterday, and I want to get to Tom Jackson on this, is the Mike Merriweather deal from Pittsburgh to Minnesota. It's conditional on him signing a contract with Minnesota, which is yet to be done. If so, Pittsburgh gets Minnesota's #1 pick. Tommy, a good move for the Vikings to try and go with Merriweather, who sat out a complete season.
Certainly, Chris, if they can get him signed and if he can pass the physical, I think it's a good deal for Minnesota. In a sense, they are not a team looking to take a step forward. They are a team looking to make it to the Super Bowl, to take that final step. Merriweather will be healthy. He will be motivated. I think it'd be a great move for Minnesota.
Minnesota's a team that's close. A team that is not so close anymore, Joe Theismann, is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, you said that you're not sure that they might not have reached a little bit with Troy Aikman. He's now signed, sealed, delivered. What do you think of the deal?
I still think the Mandarich choice would have been a better choice for them in the long run, because you get a behemoth of a man who's going to play for 15 years for you. Quarterbacks, if you play behind a suspect offensive line, you're not going to play 15 years. Aikman's going to have to play for the Dallas Cowboys. And he has one advantage that a lot of guys who go to a team with a poor record doesn't have, and that he has a guy by the name of Herschel Walker in the backfield with him, which I really believe will take the pressure off. Not going to surprise me at all when the Cowboys open if Aikman is the quarterback.
Troy Aikman will be here tomorrow. Here is the #1 pick officially, the NFL draft. We have a couple good guys in our backfield, too. Let's go over to our other set with Bob Lee and the freshly coiffed Mel Kiper.
Okay, Chris. Of course, the player assessments are going to be changing right up until the moment those picks are made. You hear about names zooming up the charts. Bert Grossman, defensive end. Pitt, yes, his stock is rising. Andy Heck, tackle out of Notre Dame. But perhaps more talk about Eric Metcalf, the running back.